Hey everybody, hope you had a good weekend. I personally can't believe it's already over, but we are here doing this stuff again. So for us, we're looking at a test coming up. Just so you guys know, we're going to talk about point slope form today. We're going to talk about standard form tomorrow, and then we will probably talk about parallel perpendicular lines for a couple days, and then kind of start the review process. I know this one we're moving a little bit quick. We want to get 2 tests in before the end of the quarter, and this is a pretty short section or chapter. There's only 4 sections, so I know that it's not as much review as it should be, just because last year was crazy. But I think that for the most part in class we're picking it up pretty good. So if you guys have any questions, make sure I'm on office hours today at 10:45. So if you need to jump on there, let me know, and I can help you out with some stuff. All right, so let's talk about point slope form. All right, so far we talked about slope intercept form, and point slope intercept form I think is by far the most useful of the y equals mx plus b. If it's written in that kind of way, I think that's the most useful. Point slope form, there is definitely some application for, but I don't love it. I think it's not the most helpful, but it's just another way that we can write a linear equation, okay? And it's going to look like this. Let's see. You're going to have y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. All right, so this time we're only going to have a slope and 1 point. And if you remember, we did some problems like this in slope-intercept form. But with point slope form, we're going to keep the y value next to this y. And we're going to keep the x value next to this x. So this is still kind of like mx over here, but we don't have like a y-intercept or anything like that. And notice the most important part, I think, is these minus signs. All right, so like where it's y minus y1 and x minus x1. Basically what's going to happen there is it's going to be the opposite sign of whatever your point is. All right, let me show you an example. So let's say there's a line with a slope of 4/5, and it goes through the point -6, 11. All right, well, if I want to write it in point slope form, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this for my x and my y. And so over here where it's y minus y1, ours is going to be y minus 11. So what I'm talking about there is this is positive 11. So when I put it in, it's negative 11. Basically, it just flips the sign. And then over here, my slope is 4/5. And then we're going to do x. Now here it's minus -6. But we know that when I talk about minus -6, those are 2 minuses together. That's just going to make a plus sign. So there again, you see, it's really just the opposite sign. This is +6. This was -6. So what happens when you put your point in those spots is it's just going to become the opposite value of those things. And this is the equation in point slope form. That's pretty much it. So notice that we have our slope out here. We can tell what the slope is. And yeah, this is the y value, the opposite y value. This is the opposite x value. Now, if we wanted to, we could turn this into slope-intercept form from here. We could do a lot of stuff, right? We could just multiply through, add 11 over, and we can get it to slope-intercept form. But for what we're doing right now, we're just going to kind of leave it like this in point slope form, right? So, yeah, it is kind of weird. That's okay. We can we can deal with weird, right? So I'm just going to do a couple practice ones where I give you some different things, and then we'll put them in point slope form from there. Yeah. Cool. So let's say we had, oh yeah, I was just looking at your homework and I was like, that doesn't make sense, but I was looking at the wrong page. There we go. All right, cool. So let's say we had 2 points. All right. I guess we can do one more like this. So again, if the slope is 6 and it goes through 5, negative 1. All right. If I'm writing this in point slope form, again, you can just kind of start with your basics. Y minus y1. And then m is going to be times x minus x1. And then remember, this is going to be your x, this is going to be your y. They're always going to be opposite signs when you plug them in. So y, it's already negative 1. So minus negative 1 is going to be plus positive 1. Your slope's 6, x, and this is 5, so it's going to be minus 5. Just like that. I don't think that's too bad. You're just plugging in from, the formula or whatever. So, yeah. So let's say we have 2 points. So, I'm trying to look at what kind of homework you're going to have, and I just wanted to make sure that you guys will be able to do those from there. So let's say I gave you 4, negative 2, and 7, 10. All right, so if we want to write an equation in point slope form from these 2 points, the equation would be, the first thing we're going to have to do is find the slope. All right, if you don't have slope, we're going to have to find it. So use our slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And that's going to be 10 minus negative 2 over 7 minus 4, which is going to give me 12 over 3, which is a slope of 4. Cool? So that's something that we worked on last week, finding the slope between 2 points. Now we just need to pick one of these 2 points, and it really doesn't matter which one. Just for fun, I'll use this number 1. And we're going to use that point and plug it into our slope, our point slope form. So this is x, this is y. We got y minus negative 2, so the opposite is going to be plus 2. 4x minus 4. And that is the equation in point slope form. Now notice it wouldn't matter which one of these points I used. They're both okay. So, it's not going to really matter. And that's kind of what's interesting. And really why I like slope-intercept form a little bit better, I would say, is because you're going to get a certain equation each time. On this one, there's lots of things we could plug in for x and y to make them true. Because there's lots of different points on the line, right? So, and then everything else is just going to be kind of working backwards from what we learned about slope-intercept form last week. So, let's say I give you an equation in point slope form. So it looks like this. Y plus 6 equals negative 2 x plus 5. Something like that. And then they say graph it, maybe. Graph this equation from point-slope form. All right, you actually have all the stuff that you need to graph it from here. Now, you have options. Like if you want to change it to slope-intercept form, it's really not bad at all, right? Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Distribute this, that's negative 10. And then minus 6 from both sides. And you can see we can pretty quickly get to slope-intercept form, right? And then you can see that your y-intercept's negative 16, and you go down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. To be honest with you, if I was in your shoes, that's probably what I would do. But we don't necessarily need to do that. So we have everything that we need because we can just use the point they give us to start from. So the point that they gave us, remember it's opposite sign. So our x value would be negative 5. Oh, excuse me. So that'd be negative 5. Our y value over here would be negative 6 because it's opposite sign. So on my graph, I would just start kind of at negative 5, negative 6. 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Which is right here on my graph. Obviously, if you have graph paper, that's going to be a lot nicer. And then you can go down 2 over 1 from there. So down 2 over 1. Down 2 over 1. And you can get a decent idea of what that's going to look like as a line from just using the point that they give you and then the slope that they give you. So again, something that we have to learn about because it does have some applications in pre-calc and calc. Not my favorite thing, point-slope form, because I think slope-intercept form is a lot more helpful, especially for linear equations. But it's definitely something that's easy that you can be able to do. So just make sure you take good notes so that when we have to do these ones on the review packet later or on the test, you're like, oh yeah, point-slope form, let me look at that page. Oh yeah, I got this. Okay? Yeah, so I'm just going to keep it short then. And it's not too bad. Kind of mess with the ones I gave you and go from there. All right? See you guys. Have a good night.